Da, 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 da. Here's a story about Matt and David who are watching movies.
Oh. No. No.
Okay, all right. I thought we were doing a parody opening this time. No. So we watched a movie today.
The Brady Bunch goes to the White House.
Dude, that was fucking terrifying. Like, I was looking in that direction. You weren't there. I looked away, and then you were. How the fuck did you do that?
I'll tell you when you're older.
Yes, Brady Bunch, White House. They did some things there.
I love the Netflix description of this.
Netflix description, paraphrasing here. Bobby finds a winning lottery ticket, and when Mike Brady returns it, he gets a trip to Washington. ... and somehow becomes president.
Somehow. Even Netflix is like, we can't explain it. Shenanigans ensue.
Should I give the plot?
Give the plot.
All right. Well, first off, a little bit of backstory. You can chime in on this.
The Brady Bunch.
The Brady Bunch. The Brady Bunch was a popular family sitcom. Popular, maybe. I wasn't alive.
These are not them.
Back in the 60s, 70s era. Then in 95, I believe it was, they started a parody movie series, the Brady Bunch movie, a Very Brady sequel, and then this one. This
is the sibling you don't talk about.
They were all three of the movies. Their basic premise is the Bradys have moved out of they're actually somewhat culturally accepted to. Now they're in the 90s and the early 2000s. How would this society accept that weird family from the 60s, 70s in today's society?
Which really should have belonged in the 50s.
Yes. Turns out they don't react too well. But that's the first two movies. This movie doesn't focus on that as much, but that's where I get into plot. Bobby, doing some shit, finds a lottery ticket. He then goes around and is like, hey, I found it, and if we win, I'll buy y'all some shit. Turns out they did win, because everything goes right for the Bradys.
They're God's children.
They are.
Yeah.
Then they win the lottery ticket, but Mike Brady, the father character... By the way, if you haven't watched the Brady Bunch, you're not going to get a lot of this.
You might as well just skip this episode entirely.
Watch the first Brady movie, and you might get an inkling. But this one is just going to be over your head.
You have to be familiar with the show. At least familiar with it. You need the cursory knowledge, or else none of the jokes are going to make sense.
Take Brady Bunch 101. And then... Alright, moving on.
I bet there's a book called that.
There probably is.
There probably is. This Sick, Twisted World.
Anyway, so it goes to Mike Brady trying to return it. He tries all these different methods, and he can't. So finally he decides to donate the winnings to a homeless architect's fund.
A homeless shelter for homeless architects.
Yes. And then the President of the United States says, like, you are a good man, come here to Washington. But his running mate for his re-election just dropped out because he got a thing on Fox Media. So
he's paid triple the salary.
He's paid triple. So then, while he's visiting in Washington, everyone's like, "So who's your new running mate, Mr. President? Mr. President, who's your new running mate?" Said, well, I'm going to look for somebody who's honest, like Mike Brady here. And everyone's just like, every one of the Bradys, I should say, not everyone. Every one of the Bradys is like, well, what about Mike?
Let Mike do it.
Let Mike do it.
Well, the funny thing is, there was this one reporter. It's like, how can you find anyone like that in Washington? I'm like, all right, that's kind of silly. I want her to be in House of Cards.
After that, it goes on, and they end up winning the election. So Mike Brady is now officially vice president. But just as they're swearing in the president, it's found out he's been collaborating with these crude oil companies that he promised that if he was ever, if he was lying and saying he wasn't
found out,
if he was found out, that he would resign as president. So right then and there, as he's being sworn in, he resigns as president, and Mike Brady gets into the office. Now you see where the somehow in the Netflix plot comes in? Somehow.
This is when, as far as it goes, like, to be fair, up to this point, even though they've been jumping the shark quite a bit, this is where I abandoned the movie. David took a little bit longer.
Yeah, I still found it mildly humorous.
I abandoned the movie 20 minutes in.
All right, well, hold on.
I left it to its bloody, disgusting fate.
After that point,
it was PG-13.
He is...
I wasn't going to be entertained anymore.
Mike Brady is now the president, and everything's hunky, super awesome, great, and they're living in the White House, and
he just signs everything.
Hijinks, and he's like, wow,
fuck the poor! Ayn Rand would be thrilled!
You know, that's a nice-looking binder you've got there.
We'll sign that. We'll sign every fucking thing in sight.
But because he was the vice president and got moved up to president, he needs a new vice president. So who could possibly perform the job of It's his wife.
It's his wife.
It is Carol Brady. So...
And she has a fucking sing and dance number to convince Congress to say yes.
Not that important.
And it's all started by Alice starting off the slow clap.
Yep. All right. No, that's how it ended. She ended it when the song and dance number. She's like, nobody likes it.
Well, that's the thing. Well, that's the thing. You know, she got them to clap, thus got them to say yes.
Point being, throughout the rest of his term,
bullshit.
Through the rest of his term, which we think to be about 2 months.
2 months.
2 months. This movie takes over, and he does a lot.
To be fair, though, his term isn't over. Just
no,
the story arc.
The story arc.
In that, he still has another 4 years.
Yep.
4 years of this guy.
But here's what happened.
Jesus.
Throughout his entire term, him and his wife are treating this as basically their household. The way that, like, there were strict rules, and they were like, kids, now you know you shouldn't do this, and here's a reasonable punishment, but we're not being too strict, but we're not being too
send you to timeout.
Yeah, they send senators to timeout. So that's
the thing about you come back when you can compromise.
They treat the entire thing like it's their house, pretty much. Like, clean up your room, America. That's one of their campaigns. Clean up your room, America.
So, in other words, they're an autocracy.
So, after a good enough time, the guy who was originally going to be the vice president or the president or whatever.
He was a hopeful.
He was a hopeful. He comes forward and he's like, woman who... I don't even know what her position was. Her name's Veronica.
She was just a gold digger.
She was around.
She was a political gold digger. She was Zoe.
They went ahead and they were like, all right, let's get some dirt on these Bradys. But of course the Bradys are super squeaky clean, so they just go to the most inane shit. They're just like, now tell me, Marsha, why did you write these terribly dirty, erotic things in your diary about this Don Martinez?
Why not?
Moving on past that, there's so many subtle little jokes.
You have...
Hold on, did I just...
Cigarettes.
Sorry.
That's making fun of a fucking episode.
Everything
all these jokes.
Real quick. I just need to get to the end of this plot. We're going for like 4 minutes. In the end, they're like attempted impeaching, but of course it doesn't work. So instead what they do is they say that there's this giant meteor, which was actually Peter's homework on how the dinosaurs died. There's this giant meteor crashing down towards Earth, so they lock all the Bradys in a bunker where the president goes, and that other guy takes the role as the acting president, and he's like, don't worry, guys, that president who left us in our hour of need, he's gone, and now it's me. But then Mike Brady comes in, and he's like, I know it was you who switched the papers.
Because my daughter says
Cindy's a tattletale. And then they round it
cut
off.
off on my pigtails.
Yeah. That's how the movie goes. Now, what we really have to talk about is how it relates to the original Brady Bunch, because that's all this movie could rely on. Yeah, there was at one point in the movie where they made like a joke. I forget what joke it even was. But throughout this entire thing, Matt was just face-palming constantly.
There was one point, though. It got to the point where I was about to do it.
And then he had like
stopped.
He had like an aneurysm.
I was like,
right there. And I was
like, it surpassed it. It surpassed me hitting my head. I'm like, it was no.
But really, this and the other two Brady Bunch movies, what they do is they take episodes, the iconic episodes of the Brady Bunch, Greg having cigarettes, them breaking the horse thing, them Marsha. They take all those things.
When Jan goes nuts.
Jan always goes nuts. But
I want to literally see a movie where she just like snaps.
I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere.
And fucking like just goes postal on people.
Anyway, they take all those episodes and they have little setups so that now it relates to them being in the White House, them being in the modern age. And they somehow just make the little roundabout reference to that point. That's all they had to rely on.
They set up how many minutes of jokes just for the Marsha line?
They go through it. Okay, to be fair, the Martian probe thing does come back in the climax of the film.
Yeah, it does.
So it wasn't entirely for the Martian line. That's how they did it.
Oh,
Martian,
they brought it up.
Martian.
Yeah. They bring it up a couple times, but that is really why they used the damn thing.
Yeah, it could have been Pluto, it could have been asteroids, but no.
Joke.
Martian.
Because.
Okay, you may notice that this review is kind of jumping every fucking which way. It's because this movie had no coherent 3-act structure. Everything happened in the first 20 minutes and the last 20 minutes. The entire middle was just, how many references can we make?
More or less.
Gah!
I mean, the funny thing is, though, I haven't seen the original 2 Brady Bunch movies, but from what I understand, the first 2 were, even though they weren't like the greatest cinema ever and whatnot, they were still clever with the way that they handled the references.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, well, because the novelty goes down, but at the same time, their usage of the jokes was far more involved in the actual movie than this. Because this, they're just spouting them off. And they're expecting the audience to know exactly, that episode.
Yeah.
That brings back fuzzy memories.
You will not enjoy this movie at all if you haven't watched Brady Bunch. This relies so much on their in-humor.
And you would have to like this movie if you were huge Brady Bunch fans.
Yeah.
And even then, that probably is a stretch because I'm not a fan at all. But at the same time, I grew up watching the show. It was on Nick at Night and all that jazz all the time. So, like, I watched it a lot. So I got the jokes.
Didn't think it was funny.
But the jokes were bad. Actually, there were a couple times, though, where this movie was depressing me. Because the film had a good base for a joke.
Oh, yeah.
An interesting build-up. This only happened like 2 or 3 times. An interesting build-up, and then it just plateaued and then nosedives. It goes up, builds up, and it just stops. Like halfway through the build-up, and...
Oh, God.
And it goes beyond having no payoff. It gets to a point where basically the scene made you angry. Or at least it made me angry. Anyway, I'm like, come on. You could have. You had the possibilities for a joke here.
Here's what, on average, the problem was with the... I guess we're just kind of in writings and characters, because they're all the same. The characters have existed for however long, and the writing revolves around the characters. So it's kind of a 2-in-1 category here. The problem being that the characters are stupid. They're not modest. They're not humble. They're not just...
They're not wholesome.
They're not wholesome or even just like trapped in their age of the 70s. They're not. They are just stupid.
Yeah, they are.
Like
Greg is the stupidest person I've seen that.
There's Veronica. Hold on. Let me just get into the role here, Veronica. So, Gregory Brady, how would you like something else with that pizza?
Like pop?
No, Greg. Like, how about would you mind if I had a slice of that pizza?
Sure, it's pepperoni. It's my favorite.
Fuck me. Does not compute!
And then all of a sudden he goes all Twilight Zone. And he's like, nee, 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 nee. And it never actually implies whether or not she literally did fuck him or not.
She didn't.
She should have.
But she didn't.
It's PG-13.
Point being, there were all these things.
There was a lot of allusion to sex with the parents, though.
Oh, dude, but that...
And also...
That was in the movies.
Then there was the joke that between Greg and Marcia...
Like, but see, Alice... You're Alice, I guess. Alice, I've never even really been on a date with a girl. I mean, at least you've gone out with Sam, and even that was just for bowling.
You thought we were bowling? Ah! And then there was the scene at the end between him and Marcia.
Okay, now hold on. This is something I need to explain. If you haven't, in the I think it's the original Brady Bunch movie. It may be a very Brady sequel. I'm not entirely sure. But in one of those two movies, they parody the episode where Greg and Marcia have to share an attic. This episode's a classic in sitcoms. They have to share a room, and they both want it, so they're just trying to like see who breaks first, pretty much. There's sexual tension building up the entirety of the time. Not in the episode, but in the movie that they're parodying. Just the whole time, until at the very end of the movie, you get this payoff. It was like, Marcia, listen, you can have the room, all right? You can have it. And then Marcia, he's like, oh, Greg, no, it's not that big of a deal. You can have it. And then there's, oh, Marcia, thanks.
And connect. No.
And then they just start making out like crazy. So, in this movie, there's a meteor about to strike Earth and wipe out all of humanity. So they're going to have to restart human civilization afterwards.
I love how he says, like, you know, technically, Marcia, we're not actually brother and sister.
No, I guess we're not.
I'm like, really?
And then there's the one...
You're going to go Donnie and Marie on us?
And then there's
seriously?
the part right afterwards, right after they realize that there is no meteor. It's just like, so we don't have to restart all of civilization by ourselves? No, Marcia. Darn.
I'm like, damn, you wanted to bang Marcia for a while, man.
Everybody in this movie wanted to bang Marcia. Everybody in this movie wanted it. If it has reached puberty, it wants to bang Marcia.
Splatter doesn't even touch the girl. Like, mud does not touch the girl.
Here's how this happens, alright? Here's just imagine this. They're moving in. They're moving into their White House. And she's like, oh, I dropped this box. Right at the Secret Service, okay? That's going to get taken out of context. Damn it. Anyway.
That become a meme?
I hope not. The Secret Service guys are just sitting there like, yes, Miss Brady.
No, you going through their heads, and you know, like, I tapped that.
Well, no, there's even one part later on, it's like, the girls are beginning to show up for the slumber party, Mr. Greg.
And Marcia is in the shower.
Marcia's in the shower. I have to go.
What? I'm like, yeah, you bet you would. It's like, yeah.
Everybody and their fucking grandfather wants to fuck Marcia.
Why not?
Alright. Good enough point.
Why not?
I enjoy you. Good counterpoint, Matthew.
Hey, to be honest, actually, if you exist in that world and you have access to it, why the fuck not?
Moving on.
Get my sleaze in there. Now, the one real highlight of this movie is that it was very well shot.
That's what we should get into.
This is a TV movie.
Okay, hold on. Shot, not edited.
Yeah.
Well shot, not edited.
And it's interesting to see the different careers of each person. But the cinematography in this, it was very well lit. Very morbid at times, actually. Like, it was like legit, it was like full-on film lighting and all that jazz. And this was a made-for-TV movie. It even had commercial breaks. At first, we weren't aware of this, but then we had to clarify. Right. Like, yeah, it was a made-for-TV film.
You know those things where it's like something gets revealed, cut to black, and then come back like a half second later, and you're not sure if there was commercial break there or if it's just the way they edited it. Because
it happened too many times.
It is based off of a TV show, though. So it would make sense if they went to black and back just as a joke.
At first, that's what we thought.
But then we discovered it was actually a TV movie, so... But no, the tracking shots.
There was one in particular. It lasts for like
a good 2 minutes.
Yeah, and it's a very, very smooth,
winding down the halls of
very
the White
West
House.
Wing, very West Wing style.
Going to the Oval Office, pan back out.
Pans around and whatnot, follows. Like it's good. It's a really good shot, and it definitely took a lot of choreography, so there's definitely effort involved with that. And the thing is with this this movie, like, there are and also the actors are good.
You don't know that you know Gary Cole.
You
know Gary Cole.
You know many of the actors
Yes.
in this thing. You just don't know them by name.
Yes, and they are Gary Cole especially. Like,
Gary Cole is fantastic.
He's the biggest name I knew in this. Whoever played Carol, I'm forgetting her name, but she also is a big name. I know that much. She's good too. Everyone's good.
Just the material.
Just
There's nothing to work with. And also, it comes to the director. Whoever directed this film, I don't know the name off the top of my head.
I'm going to call him John.
Whoever directed this film, I can't say anything about their filmography and whatnot. Just based on this movie alone, it's as if that the director has a very profound knowledge of how to work a camera, but he does not know how to work with actors at all.
See,
because, like, the thing is, though, what makes for very good camera work is a good choreography and a good communication between the cinematographer and the director.
right. But see, there's also a third aspect. What?
Unless the cinematographer was basically just left to his own devices.
I don't know. But there's a third aspect to
Which
this
would make
one.
him a worse director than before.
You're talking about the visuals and the actors. But there's a third aspect to this one, which kind of ties into the actors. It's taking the source material. The director and writers, but the director also has a responsibility with the source material. I don't know if he directed the first one and the second one either. I don't know if Johnny did that. But he obviously fell flat if he did, and if this is his first one, then he really wasn't that familiar with what made the first two better, like an unexpected good movie, an unexpected clever movie, I should say, and why this one didn't work. It wasn't so much focusing on, look, the Bradys are in the modern day age, and they're in these
They don't even...
Yeah, it doesn't
that
matter
point.
that they're in nowadays.
It could be any time.
All that they're really focusing on is that these people's, like, moral and ethical views are so squeaky clean. Like, I can't even... There is... Honestly, I'm fairly certain if Mike Brady heard about Guantanamo Bay, he would, like, flip his shit.
He would actually get emotional.
Yes, he would actually be like, now I need you to listen here. Emotional Mike Brady is. Now I'm not very happy with you, Mr. Chief of Staff. I gotta let you know that right now.
You are getting a demerit.
You are going to have to sit in a corner and think about what you've done.
Under a keg of water. Boys! And they'll start waterboarding him right there. It's like, how do you like it? How do you fucking like it? Get really, really dark. It's like, and then, of course, Carol's sitting in the corner. It's like, Mike, come on, Mike.
Mike.
Like, seriously, like, they make fun of the fact that she says, the way that she says Mike
that's
fucking much.
That's fine. You can make
She didn't
fun.
say Mike that much in the show.
True.
She didn't say, like, she says, like, hey, Mike, like, every, like, 5 times, like, every 2 or 3 minutes when she's talking.
Here's the thing. There are about 3 jokes that I remember, that I clearly remember.
Because they used one.
No, that they didn't use in this movie. One is Cousin Oliver.
Yeah.
He's the easiest fucking joke to go for.
Oh, yeah.
2 is the football hitting Marcia's nose. But my nose, because that was like just before the dance. That's one of the other...
Break the fucking thing off.
And the third one is anything to do with Davy Jones, because God knows Marcia's the president of Davy Jones fan club. Shoot. Okay, real quick. I know we're going back to characters, but I think we need to mention the creepiest part of this fucking movie, which is Jan's mental breakdown.
It could have been creepier.
It could have been. This was terrifying.
I want to see her go fucking postal. I want to see the Brady family, their heads chopped off and hanging over the fireplace, and Jan's just sitting there just like,
you have deep-seated issues. So
Jan does. Have you seen the way that her mind, she talks to Lincoln?
This is the way Jan was introduced. She walks into the kitchen and said, hi, Mom, and then she immediately just starts twitching around while her inner monologue. She's like, nobody loves you, Jan. You're ugly. Go kill yourself. It's like,
to be fair, It's only from one episode that this joke happens. This is the most running joke with Jan.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's her most famous episode. And guess what? The episode, as far as the show goes, because the show's not all that great. Like, face facts, people. But the thing is, though, as far as the show goes, it's definitely one of the better episodes. And the voice that they got for her inner monologue was hysterical. Like, toward the end, where she's riding, she's riding in the cab of a tractor trailer, and her brain's talking to her, and when I was like, come on, Jan, let's go knock over a 7-Eleven. And I'm like, the voice sounds like the voice from The Exorcist.
But that was from the movie.
No, like, it's actually, from what I understand, it's from an episode of the actual show.
Well, that was from the movie, but alright, he's like it.
And whatnot, because at the very end of that episode, Cindy goes, it's like, why is it always Jan?
Anyway, from that point forward, the whole thing,
Who knows, I might be
she's just starting to she's just losing her mind, until eventually they get into the White House. She walks into a room with a bunch of presidential portraits.
They're all just saying random shit to her.
And she's just standing there just like, God, no, why is Marcia get to sleep over and I don't? And everyone loves her more. Jan, you're stupid and ugly. And then Lincoln, in the same place where Alex is back here, is just like, now listen, Jan.
His teeth doesn't move.
Now listen, Jan. You know you need to do this. And it's like, holy, Jan.
Somebody's going crazy with MS Paint.
So Jan, inner monologue, and Lincoln are all talking to each other with differing opinions. Jan went fucking nuts somewhere along the way. And at one point, Lincoln tells Jan, like, look, you need to talk to your parents about your multiple inadequacies, and you're trying to cope with them. And he's like, good idea, Lincoln. Mom, Dad, let me tell you about my inadequacies.
She always runs like this.
Yeah.
Also, I want to say one thing. Careful.
How does she do that?
Lots of practice. But I want to say one thing about the family in this. The Brady Bunch all together. They're all sick. They're the Manson family. I'm like they're. So you think about this, like they were what the Manson family said that they were. They're the actual Manson family. See, like we're the Manson family, whereas Charlie Manson bringing people on to the whole idea of peace and love and all that jazz and fire power, and he ended up turning them dark because he convinced them that he was Jesus. This is what happens if the second part didn't happen.
Are you telling me Mike Brady isn't Jesus?
Yes.
What?
But the thing is, this is where it diverges a little bit. And this is where the Brady Bunch takes into play. This is what happens if the Manson family kept going the flower power route and whatnot. So it's like, you know what, guys? We should really all just get along.
This is what happens if...
But, no, the thing is, this is the ending of the joke here. Or my point, really. It's all an outward appearance. They're all suppressing the darkness within them. You see that in Jan because she's starting to crack. Marcia has a fucking homicidal fantasy about someone who voted her against her.
First place in cheerleading, first place in diving, second place in hockey. That fucking Sam Bennett. I'm a bitch!
And then she has a dream about her being taken into
the electric chair.
She's walking the final mile there. And I'm like, and she is smiling. What hell? She is a happy fucking girl.
Look, there's the one part she's talking to the Secret Service. She's like, do you think there's anything we could do to just make her go away?
Yeah. She goes, yeah.
Think we could do that? Cool.
Well, I'm just...
Groovy.
Fuck all y'all.
Alright. We're basically...
Winding down.
We need to get to the end here.
The last thing that I have to say about this, and you can say whatever you like, the last thing I really have to say about this movie, it had a couple moments. It had a couple of good setups for jokes that could last the entire scene, but just didn't do it. This is a movie that's just kind of falling short. And the one thing that I will say, though, I was very impressed by the cinematography. It kept it interesting. It kept me watching. That's all I can really say for it. Other than that, like, it's a bunch of good actors doing subpar work. They're doing it for money. And I can't fault people for doing that, especially in this economy. 2002, that's when Bush started getting fucking weird. But at the end of it all and whatnot, this is a movie that you can easily pass by and actually give it a couple days, this thing will probably work its way out of my mind. So, your move, Dave.
Was that your final thoughts?
Yeah.
Okay, alright. Well, here's my final thoughts. The other two movies, maybe it's just nostalgia because I haven't seen them for a while, and actually I might just stay up and watch them tonight, depending on how long this review is going to go on for. The other ones, maybe nostalgic, but it had a clever tone to it, as I said earlier, because it was focusing on this being a family out of time. Mm-hmm. Because that was a criticism, that's one thing I know, that was a criticism of the Brady Bunch even during its original airings, even when it was first coming out. It was out of time. These kids were like 10 years back, even then. All they had going for them was like half of their outfits, maybe. So that was always the issue of that show, but that's why it worked so well in the first two movies, because they played it up. They're like, here, look at how their views on the world like differ, like how different like the dollar was worth, how different people are reacted to, just all these different things. Then you reach this one where it seems like they're trying to do the same thing, but rather than being out of time, it's just their political standards. They're trying to take their moral values and apply them to political things, and it could have worked if they had conflict. At no point do any of the senators or anybody that they encounter be like, why are these people running our country? They're all like, people fucking rock. These people, this is great. They're doing a great job.
They're getting shit.
They
2 months!
They get a white power neo-Nazi to be best buds
with like a black
with
to
a
African.
black, I guess, prince, I guess, was his standing.
I don't...
They laid down the different things and they said their names, but either way.
He's like a black radical. Or...
Point being, these people did no wrong. The only reason they had conflict wasn't because of political opinions. It was because the one guy wanted to get into the presidency, and Mike was in the way. And Veronica.
Which made absolutely no sense, because he could have just waited.
If they had just taken the route of, why are these people running this country? But no, they're like, Mike Brady is the coolest thing since sliced bread. Groovy. Since they went that route, it didn't have that same sort of, I guess, sting to it's really what I'm looking for here. It was more like, guys, you remember the Brady Bunch? You remember how kooky and crazy they were even back in their own days? Well, now they're cool. Everything's great about them. Everyone loves them. No, you're supposed to play up how weird they are. That's the point here, Johnny.
The movie starts off with like a heavy metal guitar.
It does.
I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? This is not the Brady Bunch.
Are they evolving to their modern times? Is that what's going on?
They are transforming. No, even better, they're anamorphing and whatnot.
Oh, God.
90s!
Bobby turns into Tiger the dog. Alright, but from there, that's... Okay. Honestly... Okay. Let's scoot over a little bit. Honestly, what this comes down to is that it's a fact of nowadays television, movies, stuff like that. There isn't really that social center. It's not a matter of there's no real good, I guess, role models is the word I'm looking for. Everybody has their faults and stuff like that. And while Mike Brady isn't perfect, there's still, this movie didn't portray him in the best light. Where Brady Bunch was just perfect all around. We needed this nuclear family when we had it. It was a good move.
Hey, you ever just want to kill a nuclear family?
No. No, it's not on my list of things to do.
You ever just want to, just go all in cold blood on someone?
Where did you get the gun, Matt?
Off screen.
Oh, that's probably where it came from earlier.
Come on!
No, not an accomplice. I'm not an accomplice!
All bad boys want some road, it's tricky. And girls enjoy, they feel so lucky. Loving a switch, running out that door.